My towel glided to the floor in a heap. "Lily," he said reverently, staring at me. His gentle touch on my skin felt like he was imprinting every feature on memory. This started it. "My name is Lily. And while it sounds conceited, beauty has always been my companion. My voluptuous physique, lovely skin, and sparkling smile still draw attention at 6'5". My thick gray hair waves beautifully beyond my shoulders, and my honey brown eyes seem to conceal a secret that captivates others. Despite living a peaceful life without romance, I still feel stares and murmurs everywhere since my husband's death. However, these difficulties no longer bother me. My life is quiet and routine, and I'm used to it, not because I don't have options. I've avoided love, all ages, from dignified elder gentlemen to juvenile suitors slightly older than me. Own children have sought my attention, but I always decline. I say I'm too old for romance. I know it's more, living with loss. I've hidden my emotions. Putting myself out there again is scary. My nephew Ethan Blake called one evening as the sun set and the sky turned orange and pink. My older sister has one child, Ethan Blake. He is energetic and has a mischievous smile in his mid-30s. His towering athleticism and confidence manner often attracts notice, especially from women. My sister Diana Whitman frequently calls to complain about his flirting. "Lily," she said, "this kid will give me a heart attack. He pursues women relentlessly." I'd tell her it was a phase and shrug. This is typical of guys his age. I knew Ethan Blake was odd deep down, even though they knew better. His magnetism captivated women. "Hello, Aunt Lily." Ethan Blake welcomed me positively on the phone. "I hope not to bother you." "Absolutely not," I said. "What's happening?" "I was wondering if I may spend the weekend at your apartment," he asked uncertainly. The request surprised me. Ethan Blake rarely requested such favors. He wouldn't hide in my quiet home, due to his hectic career and social life. A lovely decor and yard make my place a peaceful retreat from the city. It's not Ethan Blake's lively setting I preferred, but his tone made me hesitant. Not a casual request, fragility lurked. I spoke with concern and affection after a while. "Of course, Ethan Blake," I excitedly responded. "We always welcome you. This is your home too." "Thank you, Aunt Lily," he said, relieved. "Be there by Friday night." My curiosity grew after the call. What was he escaping? A romantic mishap, a fight with him, mother, or something else? Ethan Blake has always been a mystery, full of surprises and complexities. I wondered why he sought serenity here and what the weekend may reveal. As Friday approached, time seemed to fly by. I heard Ethan Blake's car turn into the driveway at night while sitting in the living room. Standing up made me nervous and excited. Ethan Blake looked at me when I opened the door, familiar but changed. He looked effortlessly stunning in dark slacks and a fitting black t-shirt that showed off his athletic form. Always warm and dazzling, his smile, but his eyes exhibited a hint of discomfort, a weak strain that contrasted with his usual confidence. "Charlotte Whitman, Aunt." With a hug he welcomed me. "You always look great." I laughed at his wonderful personality which never faded. "Do you remain charming, ever?" I said, smiling. "Come on in, we'll get you situated." Ethan Blake entered and explored my place. The cozy living room with soft lights seemed to welcome him. The pleasant atmosphere was enhanced by the smell of fresh bread. My residence has always been a place to relax and breathe deeply. When Ethan Blake looked around tonight, I could see he was looking for his place, like someone calming their inner turmoil. What drew him here, and what did he desire this weekend? I thought I'd find the answers. "Wow," he whispered, sighing on the couch like a big burden had been lifted. "I miss this place." I teased and laughed softly. "You act like you haven't been here in years." He reclined and closed his eyes. "It feels like that. Life has been non-stop lately. No time to breathe." Raised eyebrow. I was intrigued, but I stayed silent, hoping he would continue. Instead, he smiled tentatively and shook his head, unwilling to go farther. In the evening we strolled to the garden, where a gentle breeze rustled the trees and conveyed the scent of flowers. The peaceful environment made him open up. Crickets chirped and leaves rustled as we sat silently. Ethan Blake finally spoke. He started his voice unusually low. "Aunt Charlotte Whitman, someone I sometimes feel locked in a loop, parties and women. It's exhilarating at first, but exhausting later." His confession surprised me. Ethan Blake was not the confident, carefree Ethan Blake I remembered. Young man's effortless magnetism looked unshakable. Instead, he showed his weaknesses. I became worried when I realized how much he must have carried. Wait, after thinking, I said softly, perhaps it is time for a change, Ethan Blake. He groaned and glanced out at the garden. Perhaps, he mumbled. The situation is more complicated. I'm expected to keep going and follow their advice. It seems leaving will disappoint them. I approached and touched his arm, Ethan Blake. My voice was steady and pitiful. No need to compare yourself to others' standards. You're still young. You have time to discover yourself and create your own life. He glanced at me intently, seeking reassurance. A silent intensity in his sight made my heart skip a beat. It disturbed me for unknown reasons. The weekend was full with modest but memorable moments. Ethan Blake, first guarded, relaxed, and I felt more comfortable in his presence than expected. My unexpected appearance was a delight. Despite the warmth of our time together, I was nervous at times. He sometimes stared at me or smiled quietly. It wasn't obvious. The interactions, wordless depth spoke volumes. Ethan Blake's visit energized my home unexpectedly. His light-hearted mocking elevated my spirits and filled the quiet corners with laughter and enthusiasm, feelings I hadn't had in years. It was as if his presence lifted a burden I wasn't aware of. I smiled as we prepared vegetables for dinner one afternoon, seeing how easy he made even the most boring tasks fun. He worked quickly and skillfully. Yet he occasionally paused to smirk and eat a cucumber. You're spoiling me, I laughed half-jokingly, playfully winking. He warm and sincere. You deserve it, Aunt Lily, he murmured kindly. You do so much for everybody else. It's time someone looked after you for a change. His words warmed me in ways I hadn't realized. Ethan Blake indulged me without effort, which had been a while. His kind actions, such as preparing the perfect cup of tea in the morning or mending forgotten household things, were much appreciated, spoke loudly. He showed me how much I miss being recognized and cherished after years. Not only was his compassion effective, that was his fun side. His positive attitude often surprised me. He would sneak up on me and surprise me with a hug or cheek or neck kiss. Each time I gasped, I heard his warm, taunting tone, Aunt Lily, you're always serious, relax. I laughed, dismissing him, but his warm contact lingered, leaving me with feelings I couldn't identify. While I read on the couch one night, Ethan Blake joined me. He effortlessly threw his arm around my shoulders and bent towards the pages without reluctance. His proximity was nearly overwhelming, and his warmth alongside me was unmatched. Ignored. Is this a love story? He asked, his tone low and humorous with a hint of intrigue that raised my awareness of him, something I was unwilling to admit. Not your problem, I blushed in shame as he stared at me intently. Ethan Blake's deep laughter sent thrills down my spine. As he stepped closer, his fingertips lightly touched my arm to adjust. That touch jolted me, and I jumped up quickly. I pretended to adjust the drapes to mask my uneasiness. You're restless, I murmured, attempting to sound upset despite my beating heart. Ethan Blake's fun, mischievous tone and gnawing grin made me gasp. I turned away without responding. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't get over how he had unsettled me, which went on for days, but Ethan Blake's impact was evident when his hands gently touched me. His lingering gaze and nonchalant yet deeply personal gestures evoked emotions I couldn't suppress. He did more than speak or act. He made me feel alive and awake in a manner I hadn't realized I needed. In the quiet home, I anticipated his teasing embraces and the explosive charge his presence appeared to generate late one evening. Only the ceiling fan and crickets made noise. Outside, I heard footsteps while putting dishes away alone in the kitchen. Ethan Blake arrived as I turned. His strong chest and arms cast subtle shadows on his skin in the faint light. His easy confidence made my heart accelerate, but I didn't know why. Unable to sleep, he asked quietly and in a close tone, Not really, I responded, staring at him briefly before leaving. Ethan Blake stepped forward slowly, aware of his stare, closed in on me and rested against the counter. His eyes searched mine avidly, expecting for me to meet him halfway despite his comfortable posture. You've been quiet today, he replied anxiously. Is everything okay? I nodded, but my chest tightened and showed my true feelings. A previously unknown tension permeated the air between us, nearly suffocating. We stopped talking because his look captivated me. The oppressive quiet persisted, and waiting until he broke it with a whisper that seemed to stay between us. My breath caught in my mouth and I froze. His words struck me with an unexpected force, sending a shock of electricity through me. My heart raced, each beat deafening in the silence. Ethan Blake stopped saying that. I kept my words barely audible as I avoided his sight. Unable to match him. The intensity of his eyes. Why not? This is the truth. He took another step forward, his hands slowly stretching out, giving me the chance to stop him, but I did not. His fingers softly moved a strand of hair away from my face, sending an uncontrollable thrill through me. Ethan Blake. This is not, I said, but he cut me off with a faint murmur. With conflicting emotions, I opened my mouth to object, to stop it before it escalated. But no words came out. I stood motionless as his hand went to my waist, the warmth of his touch seeping through my clothes and drawing me closer to him. He reached out gently and I felt the weight of unspoken words between us. Wavering, but I didn't try to pull away. My body contradicted every conviction I'd held by remaining crushed against him. His lips brushed lightly on my cheek, close enough to my mouth that I could feel his breath on my skin. That momentary touch caused my breath to catch, and for a moment the world seemed to halt. Time seemed suspended with the weight of unspoken emotions, but they lingered in the air, heated and obvious. I finally broke free, my breathing unsteady and my heart beating in my ears. Good night. Ethan Blake, I muttered, my voice unsteady and barely audible, laden with feelings I couldn't identify. He didn't try to stop me as I turned and walked away, but I could feel his gaze on me, steady and unrelenting, racing and unable to relax. Replaying the scene, what did I do? What happened between us? I tried to convince myself it was just a passing emotion, but deep inside, I knew something had changed and there was no turning back. I didn't want to admit it, but denying it was becoming impossible. I wanted Ethan Blake's touch, presence, and gaze in ways I had never experienced before, that made me feel beautiful and desired, which I hadn't felt in years. I tried to dismiss the thoughts, but they kept coming back stronger and harder to ignore. It felt like a risky game I shouldn't be playing. Even as I told myself to stop before it got too far, I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if I hadn't, not happened, but when our gazes met. There was an unsaid understanding, a glimmer, of something none of us could dismiss. It was slight, but it remained just beneath the surface. An acknowledgement of the moment we had shared. The tension between us rose gradually and steadily, like a never-ending fire. Ethan Blake's hands became more confident, methodical, and his taunting comments made my heart race. Reawakening long-suppressed desires was overwhelming, like something was developing between us that I couldn't dismiss. No matter how hard I resisted. I knew it was just a matter of time before things got out of hand. The afternoon heat was oppressive, so I thought a cold shower would be perfect. My room was peaceful, interrupted only by the faint buzz of faraway sounds. Atmosphere. I had just slid out of my clothes and wrapped myself in a nice white towel. Its cold fabric felt nice against my skin as I clutched it close. My hair was casually tied back with a few strands framing my face, making the situation easier. I was about to go to the bathroom when I realized I had left my phone on the living room coffee table. As I turned the bathroom knob, I heard footsteps outside my door, followed by a knock. Aunt Charlotte Whitman. Ethan Blake's voice came from the opposite side, and he appeared in the doorway with my phone. He looked surprised and asked, "Your phone has been?" He started, but his voice stopped as he looked at me. I was wrapped in a towel, my skin damp from the shower. The chamber shimmered on my bare shoulders. And his expression changed and his eyes widened in surprise. He froze for a heartbeat, then opened his mouth to continue speaking, but no words came out. My pulse increased and my heart raced. The room, which had been spacious seconds earlier, suddenly seemed to close in on me. Ethan Blake approached me quickly and deliberately, and before I could respond, he was standing in front of me. His muscular hands cradled my face tenderly, solidly, and sensitively. His fingertips traced the line of my jaw, and his gaze fixed on mine was filled with trepidation and something deeper. Something I couldn't identify. Aunt Lily, low and shaking from raw passion. He stepped closer, a conflicted look in his eyes, and I turned away before either of us said something we couldn't take back. For a time I stood transfixed, astonished, and unable to react. My mind was fighting to cope with the emotional maelstrom. Hunger. Until that moment, I had no idea that an aching yearning remained within me. "Ethan Blake," I whispered, moving away just enough to speak. But before I could continue, his lips returned to mine, silencing me with another kiss. This one is deeper and more urgent. The intensity of the moment overwhelmed us, and the towel slid slightly beneath the weight of our emotions. I've wanted this for so long, he said, his voice thick with longing and genuine sorrow. His words made me tremble, their weight flowing over me like a wave. My instincts took over, so I didn't have time to overthink things. I reached up and wrapped my arms around his neck, bringing him closer. Our bodies fit together so naturally. It surprised me. I clutched my towel tighter, suddenly aware of how exposed I felt under his gaze. Lily, he muttered with reverence. His eyes fastened on mine with such intensity that my breath faltered. There was a pause, his hand brushing past mine, a silent, charged moment neither of us expected. Each touch was deliberate and sensitive, full of calm intensity. I knew what we were doing was harmful and shouldn't be allowed. A voice inside me cried for us to stop and leave before we crossed an irreparable border. But in that instant, all reasoning and restraint vanished. All I could feel was the raw, irrefutable feeling of being fully alive. He said, Lily, his voice low and wavering, and the intimacy made my heart race. You're stunningly gorgeous. I've never seen anyone like you. He whispered my name with tenderness, making my heart skip a beat. I blushed at his focused gaze, unwavering look, full of emotions that left me breathless. Slowly he leaned in again, catching my lips in a deeper kiss full of unspoken promises and a need we both seemed to feel. Ethan, Blake's gentle, intentional touch slid across my arms, shoulders and waist, drawing me closer into his embrace as if he didn't want to let go. Ethan Blake, I muttered, quivering with emotion, but he silenced me with another, more intense kiss, as if he couldn't bear to let go. His lips slid against mine with such assurance that I lost my breath. One of his hands caressed my face, his thumb gently stroking over my skin as his eyes focused on mine, filled with tenderness and astonishment. I've dreamed of this, he said, his voice husky with emotion. I didn't think I'd ever feel this way again, I said, my voice quivering with vulnerability. You deserve it, Ethan Blake replied firmly, leaning toward his jaw. Feel wanted and to know you're valued, Lily, you deserve it all. His words wrapped around me like a promise, and I felt ready to let go of everything holding me back. The experience felt almost surreal, as if we were suspended in a place where nothing else mattered. The golden afternoon sunlight flowed through the window, lighting up the romance. Ethan Blake asked softly, examining me for, I don't know, I admitted. Honestly, my voice was softer and more vulnerable. But I do not regret it. His smile was warm and soothing as he reached up to brush his stray hair away from my face. His touch was comfortable and compassionate. He replied simply, neither do I, with an unspoken promise of more to come. As the afternoon light faded, the truth of what had just happened came into my mind, disrupting my peace. Later that evening, as the sun set, I found myself in the garden. The cold evening breeze caressed my skin, leaving a faint aroma of flowering flowers. Tried to make sense of everything. Had we crossed an uncrossable line? Could things ever return to normal? Or had something fundamental about our relationship changed forever? As I sat there, lost in concentration, Ethan Blake softly approached. His steady and calming presence contrasted with the emotional maelstrom I had been experiencing all day. Despite his tranquility, his closeness rekindled the feelings I had been working so hard to suppress. I turned to face him, my heart heavy with internal struggle, desire, perplexity, remorse, and an unmistakable longing. His remarks, despite their calm tone, sent a shiver down my spine. Ethan Blake, this isn't just complicated, it's wrong because of what people may say, because of our age difference. I paused, trying to steady my breathing. The truth was that it didn't matter what others thought or our ages. No, I muttered, none of this matters to me. My feelings for you matter, which makes this so hard to digest. His words touched me in a way I couldn't explain. He was open, even vulnerable, and his eyes showed sincerity. I wanted to trust him and follow him on this strange and unknown path, but a murky anxiety kept me back. Fear of being judged, losing something important, and giving up control. Days passed, but the tension between us grew stronger, filling every place we shared. Ethan Blake was always patient with me and gave me the time I needed. Despite my efforts to keep my distance and suppress my emotions, I couldn't resist the tug I felt whenever he was near. That earlier moment, that palpable fire between us had caused a shift. I felt it in every fiber of my being, and the way the air vibrated when he got close. I wasn't sure if I had the fortitude to address it, accept it, or if fear would eventually win and separate us forever. Aunt Lily, he murmured hesitantly, his voice tinged with apprehension and quiet determination. I sat on the couch trying to distract myself with the TV, but my mind kept returning to him, to us. I didn't hear him approaching, but I could feel his presence before his smooth voice broke the silence. I saw him standing there, his face open and vulnerable but strong. He stared at me as if searching something, maybe comfort or understanding. He walked to sit next to me without saying a word, and our distance evaporated instantly. His body heat spread through me like a creeping fire. Ethan Blake admitted, "Can't pretend anymore." His voice was quiet yet forceful. "Because I'm thinking about you. I can't pretend nothing occurred." His comments weighed on me and tightened my chest. He stared at me, waiting for me to speak something, but I could only stare at him, overwhelmed by emotions I didn't understand. "I find this difficult, Ethan Blake," finally I admitted. My voice shook. "I've spent my life carefully, and everything now feels so strange and overwhelming," he said, softening and looking sympathetically at me. "Perhaps something more is needed." His steady, soothing voice encouraged me as he extended his hand, sliding his fingers around mine, warmth grounding me unexpectedly. I focused on him as a kind person, not as the charming young man I'd always known, a woman, not only his aunt or kin. His eyes saw everything I was and could be. A small but noticeable change occurred within me at that instant. I instinctively leaned toward him, narrowing the tiny distance between us. I kissed him cautiously, starting light, uncertain, then expanded. As the world vanished, his hands cradled my face. His gentle thumbs on my cheeks sent thrills down my spine. The kiss was more than an action. It stated everything we hadn't said. We knew our pledge without stating it. He kissed me like I was the only one who mattered, center of his universe. After we parted, breathless and wide-eyed, I noticed his intense eyes, a glance that sent a surge through me. Everything about us that changed the connection, everything, was the same. No going back or pretending. Ethan Blake and I found ways to slow down time in private. The world outside faded while we laughed in the kitchen while cooking, strolled in the garden, or relaxed on the couch. Ethan Blake's attention was evident in many ways. He would surprise me with garden flowers, their rich colors brightening our pleasant daily routine. His sweet handwritten notes on the kitchen counter or in my book always appeared when I needed them. When we were alone, his hand would automatically find mine, intertwining like he was holding onto something he never wanted to lose. Ethan Blake glanced at me one night under the stars. He seemed gloomy and introspective. The night air was frigid, but his presence alongside me gave core warmth. "You must know this." He spoke clearly and emotionally. "I'm staying. I'm here for any issues with you." His remark struck a deep chord in me, causing tears. I grabbed his hand tightly. I said, "Ethan Blake, you've brought a lot of brightness back to my life. I don't know what I'd do without you." With emotion, his smile was kind. Lovingly, he hugged me. "You'll never find out." He hugged me, while in his embrace, I understood we were in this together. Whatever the future held, we had each other, which was enough. Our relationship became deep and precious. If the world never understood what we shared, it didn't matter. We valued peaceful periods together and comfort from each other. Ethan Blake had rekindled a flame I thought had perished. I finally believed in happiness after years. I found sweet and powerful affection in his hug, uniquely ours we'd guard and nurture.